coach, business mentor, and the genius behind the Gutsy method, through which she empowers wildly ambitious female coaches to build six-figure brands that feel as good as they look through authentic marketing, embodied leadership, and gutsy business strategy. Once a teacher and always gutsy, Amber took the leap of faith in herself to move into coaching after becoming pregnant with her first child. Her business exploded, but it was when she fell pregnant with her second child that she truly upped the ante and got honest about the gutsy moves she knew she needed to make herself, and the Gutsy CEO was born. Now, there's so much more to this incredible story, and it really is all around the identity shifts of being brave, of stepping into motherhood, of leadership, of being the business owner versus the self-employed individual. And amongst all of that, Amber has truly owned her own unique identity. And I cannot wait to unpack this episode with Amber to help you as well with your messaging, with how you approach your business, with how you approach your life, with how you own what you want in your life, because that is exactly what Amber helps you do too. So Amber, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. Such a privilege. Can't believe really that you've done all of that and had two children.
Oh my God, I love that introduction so much.
You'll have to record it and then like have it as a little affirmation on your phone.
Well, like when some people I guess what coaches do is they reflect back at you what you already do or what you already say, and you're like, oh my God, yeah. And it feels really, really good. That's what that felt like.
I'm so glad, because it is true. I think that is the beauty of coaching as well. And, a lot of people kind of, I guess, have never tried coaching. And it's such a niche thing in itself that it can almost be associated with a certain type of thing or a certain type of person. But really, and I don't know what your experience of coaching has been, but, for me, coaching was life-changing. And that's what helped me decide I wanted to shift into this kind of mindset, life performance, career, whatever it is, coaching, basically helping people fulfill their potential. But there's such I feel like there's such an eye roll that can come alongside that, or this sense of judgment, or this sense of it's not for me, or the idea that it's expensive, but it's so rewarding. And I don't know if it's a cultural thing, because I feel like in America, for example, coaching is as normal as like, oh, I just go to the doctor. Have you found that with your journey with coaching? Or what has your journey with coaching been? Because starting as a teacher, there's obviously skills that can come into that, but teaching and coaching are very different. So what was it that really planted that seed to explore coaching?
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? It really is true that people don't quite understand what coaching is. What planted the seed for me? So yeah, I was always a teacher and I love teaching. And actually, I think what planted the seed was that I had a couple of friends that were coaching or were going into the world of coaching. And I was just like so fascinated, so fascinated with what they were doing, combined with being so underfulfilled and burnt out with what I was currently doing. And I really was like looking everywhere, like, what can I do? I did like a million brainstorms, I did so many different things. And actually one of my friends who was a really close friend, he was doing it, and he did a lot of like inadvertent coaching with me. He could see inside my soul, it felt like, and he could see that actually I was really interested in what he was doing. So I think he made a few little comments to me that really stuck with me. That's an interesting thing about coaching, is like your coach might say something to you and it like haunts your brain. And that kind of is actually about, they kind of tell you what's inside your gut already that maybe you're not quite listening to.
I think that's such an incredible observation. And actually, it's funny that gut, why have I never made this correlation before? That gut is part of gutsy. Like, why have I never thought of it like that angle of, gut, we talk about gut instinct and we talk about that sense of knowing ourselves, and coaching is, a lot of it is around this idea of best. And actually it's different to mentoring, or it's different to teaching, because from a mentoring or a teaching perspective, it's very much like, well, this is what you do and this is what you need to learn. And coaching is really around like getting under the skin of that connection to gut almost. In those moments where you had those gut feelings in relation to being gutsy and pivoting out of teaching, how did you discern and get clear on what was fear, for example, and what was excitement? because they feel pretty much the same in the body. So how did you start to really understand that that gut feeling for change was what you wanted to do?
That's a big question. I think I've always been someone, and this is what gutsy. So gutsy for me is a deep, being very intuitive and really listening to your gut, but also being really brave and being like gutsy. So I feel like for me, maybe I have always understood fear as something to be slightly excited about. I think I've always felt a bit like that. Like I've always taken these risks in my life. I've always been I traveled the world on my own. I like moved abroad to different countries on my own. I've always been a real um I suppose a bit of a risk taker and an adrenaline seeker. And I think maybe I always have felt like fear and excite, like I've always kind of chased the fear a little bit. I can definitely tell the difference between like what's an unpleasant feeling, like something I don't want to do, and something that I do want to do. And I think if there's something that I do want to do and it scares me, like this, the fear is exciting. So it's not really about like like deciding, oh, is this scary or is this exciting? Generally, if it's scary and I want to do it, it is exciting.
There's such an impulse there, isn't there? It's so innate. It's like, oh, now I've discovered that thought or that feeling, I can't not act on it. It's kind of like you have to deny what you're really feeling in yourself. Like if you don't take that step, you're then almost, it's that blocking of your own fulfillment almost, isn't it? There's this real sense of you have the freedom then in the moment to be like, actually, I want to move my life in that direction. Do you find with the individuals that you work with that there is that real, almost like the ledge to jump off into this next step that they have to go to? Because it's such a big, we don't really talk about identity change because it sounds a bit boring, but it's such a massive part of evolution and growth and fulfillment in that sense of, when we, like you were talking about with when you hit the level in teaching where you're like, actually this is just not, something is not right here, it's not I'm not being challenged enough, or it's draining me in a way that isn't how I want to feel. When you start working with individuals who, you can kind of see their fear perhaps and that excitement for what they want, what happens in those moments with individuals where they start to see what's possible for them?
I'm thinking about, as you asked that, I'm thinking about like those moments in my calls, like with my clients, that we have those things where they're talking about something and I can see they're on the verge. I feel like, and then maybe this isn't strictly like what you're trained to do with your coaching, but I feel like when I can see that inside in their eyes, when I can see that, it just gets me so excited. No, maybe I'm like mirroring their excitement, but I kind of am able to mirror it from a perspective of, wow, this is extraordinary, this is exciting, and that almost helps them realize that the fear isn't like a bad thing, that it's a good thing. Like I think yeah, I'm always one to be like, to just, I do this with my friends and family as well. If I can see that, if I can see that there is something exciting them, but they're just not sure, I just like, I just see it immediately and I get so excited for them. Yeah, but I mean, I suppose that the thing that is difficult then for them is, and for a coach, is everyone has their own timeline, right? Everyone has, like, it's not everyone is like me and they're like, okay, right, we move. Some people, they need their time to digest it, to have that haunting thought in their brain of like, oh, TikTok, what is this, like, and then the moment will come. I suppose with my clients, like I keep fishing for it. Like I don't let it go too quickly, if I can see that they're still not quite moving on it, just to try and like shift that timeline a bit faster. But yeah, obviously everyone does have their own timeline. But yeah, I think that's what happens. And I suppose in my messaging, in my business, I do try really hard to speak to the woman who's like already on the verge, because I know that my talent is like just pushing them over. rather than speaking to the woman who's kind of like really quite far behind on that journey, you know, so that you're going to have to do a bit of like, I don't know, dragging, waiting around. That's probably not my ideal client.
It's fascinating, isn't it? This place of where we are at in that stage of growth or development or change. And as you were saying that, like I can totally relate, because you're so connected in those sessions with people. Like there is that mirroring, there is that kind of being together in that space. That's why coaching is so magical, because there is this space of possibility and of honesty. Have you noticed your own journey with where you are now versus where you were at the beginning when you became a coach, of a similar evolution as kind of what you see now with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. Just absolutely 100%. I see it with pretty much every client. Because I think there's so many like hurdles of your belief, just your belief system and what you believe is gonna, first of all, what you believe it's going to take to be successful in business. Like, I think when I first started, I was like, let everyone know I've got a coaching qualification, talk about my coaching qualification. And I thought that was the most important thing. I don't talk about that anymore really at all. Or like, you know, make sure that I'm sounding professional. I remember I went through this phase where I was really trying to like use lots of descriptive terms and really improve my vocabulary so that when I was writing I would sound like, you know, a good writer. And I see that in clients too, and that's something that now I'm just like, no, cut it out. You don't need to be like a good writer, you just need to write the way you speak. Basically just speak and then write that down. And yeah, I mean, there's just so many of these shifts that you realize, and obviously as well in terms of just your own confidence, because it's hard to be, no matter how confident you are or you think you are, or I mean, it's just really, really scary. Like building a business is really scary. Doing anything that's different from what you've done before is really scary. And within your business, doing anything, even like the smallest little things, like speaking about messaging, I've done a lot of shifts to my messaging over the years. Every time, even the slightest shift, it's like terrifying. It can feel terrifying because it feels like, I don't know, you're speaking to a brand new audience, or you're speaking a whole new language, or you're stepping into this. I was actually talking about it with my mentor the other day. I was saying how I feel like I'm in a permanent state. Like I live in a permanent state of imposter syndrome. And it's something I've just learned to live with. And she was like, that's a really good thing, because that means you're always like stretching yourself a little bit further than is comfortable. And I think that's actually the secret to my success, the secret to anyone's success, the secret to your success, my client's success. Like, maybe just accepting that you're going to probably have imposter syndrome maybe for the rest of your life, and that's okay, and learning to kind of like deal with that, and see it as a good thing.
Yeah, because it's this idea, isn't it, that actually, you know, the whole concept really of imposter syndrome is, or the real understanding of it psychologically, is that we're in new environments that we are not familiar with, and the body and the brain then will respond to that because it feels like it has to protect us in a certain way. And so in those moments, you know, the moment before you go to post something that has that shifted messaging that might be a bit more direct or might be a bit kind of gutsy, that might be a bit like, I don't know how people are going to respond to this. They're going to hate me. They're going to unfollow me. Are they going to do this, that, and the other? What is your process in that moment? Do you sit with the feeling? Do you acknowledge what you're thinking? Do you just go, oh my God, fuck it, I'm going to hit send, and then just like run away? Like, what is your process in that shift to make sure you complete the shift?
So I think the process is always the gut check. I'm actually doing like a little 2-week experience starting next week called the gut check, which is about us, you know, really like getting radically honest with like how you feel. So I always do the gut check, and then that usually kind of gets a load of like feelings and emotions going. I do have support. So I'm part of a mastermind. I also have a best friend who is also doing a similar thing to me. We talk every day. I make sure I like work through like my thoughts before being super. I mean, I am a very impulsive person. Like I'm, ADHD curious, let's say. Um, so I sometimes do find it difficult not just hitting send, but I do try to kind of like work through those feelings. And I also tap, which I find super helpful. So EFT tapping, if anyone doesn't know, is where you kind of like you basically call out how you're feeling. You call out the imposter syndrome feelings, you call out the negative feelings, you call out anything nasty you're saying to yourself while you tap on these points throughout your body. And then you kind of do it again, but this time you shift the direction and you reason with yourself like why that's a whole load of crap. And then you do it again, and this time you like choose, no, this is the direction I'm going in. And I find that really, really helpful. I just do that ad hoc all the time. I try and tap every day actually. Um, Although not the easiest with two little ones. But yeah, I suppose that's my process. Like, I'd like to say I do journal on it, but the journaling is usually more in like I try and write content for what I often try and do actually is try and write content, but I won't post the content. And in my head, I'll always think, well, how am I showing how I'm leading myself through this? Rather than being like, guys, this is hard, or I'm finding this really hard. I'll write something down and then I'll like go through the process. This is how I'm leading myself through it. And as I'm writing what should be content, I'm also like helping myself, supporting myself, showing myself what I need to do to lead myself through it. Actually, sometimes content writing is actually, I'm using it to support myself.
Yeah, there's like a separation there, isn't there? It's almost like you are watching yourself, like we would talk about perhaps in coaching, actually, like you're almost separating, but still experiencing the very tangible shifts that happen then as a result of writing. Because there's something, it's not just like wishy-washy. There's science behind us getting out what we're carrying. And like you say, that gut check, with a gut check, do you sit like, this is going to be a really random question, like do you sit with your gut and just like talk to your gut? Because I do a lot of work somatically with people where I'm like, well, what does the tightness in your shoulder, like what is it saying? Do you talk to your gut like that? Do you actually have a conversation with it, or is it more like just understanding the feelings? Because sometimes it is like, oh, is that fear, or is that excitement, or is it the thoughts that's going on in alignment with that? Like, what else am I worried about? Or is it very much just like, does this give me a boost of energy, or does it feel heavy?
I feel like I talk to my gut. I don't like outwardly speak to my gut, but I think I am very in tune. I love somatic stuff. Like I love everything that you were just talking about that you do, If I feel something where I feel like I do check in with my body, or I'm feeling something in my chest, or I'm feeling something in my tummy, or I'm feeling something in my head, like, oh, some weird noise happened. Anyway, I will check in with what I'm feeling in my body and how it's feeling, and then I suppose I'll have an internal conversation about what that could mean. And there's something really, really nice when you figure it out. Because I don't like to let it go. I just can't let things go. Like if I feel something, I can't just sweep it under the rug. I can't sweep anything under the rug, actually. Like if there's an elephant in the room, I have to call it out. If there's an elephant in my body, I have to call it out. So yeah, there is a process of me sitting through it, talking through it, analysing it, and then I always get there in the end.
It is such a process, isn't it? And it's made me think, as you were talking, I was just thinking about the evolution into motherhood. And, we're talking very progressively here about that consistent change in the evolution. But have there been moments in motherhood, especially, where you have been like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Yes.
And maybe not like just to discern that between like both as a mum but also as a business owner. Like I'm sure there's moments in parenting where it's like, oh my God, what's going on? But also in that bigger picture of like, is it going to work? Can I sustain this? Like that loyalty tie almost to the role of mum and then the role of a business owner. Like, have you had those moments where you're like, I just want to burn it all down or walk away from it or just like pretend it's not there?
I feel like I have fragments of those moments on a weekly basis, Like at the moment I have you know, for context, I've got an 8-month-old and a 3-year-old, and the 8-month-old, I only have 1 day a week of childcare for her, you know, so Monday is pretty much my only day, my only real full day of working, and everything else, like I'm still trying to work, you know, on the Tuesday to Thursday. I don't work at all on Friday because my other daughter is off then, but between Tuesday and Thursday, I am trying to do little bits of work here and there, and I kind of need to really, because like 1 day a week isn't, you know, it's a nice hook to be like, I work 1 day a week, but is it really possible? I'm figuring it out. I do often feel like, can I do this? And the thought of, like, from the new year, she'll be going to childcare 3 days a week, not full days, but so that will give me 3 days a week. But my heart is breaking. Like, I'm so torn because I want so much. I get very frustrated during the week when I want to be doing stuff on my business and I can't. And I also know I need to be present with my baby. And I want to do both of those things. I want to be present and I want to work. And that, yeah, like from the new year when she goes 3 days a week, I feel like my heart is breaking for that. Like, I don't want to send my baby 3 days a week into childcare. She's got an amazing childminder, but I also desperately, desperately want more time for my business. And yes, I'm always I'm always torn. And I feel like I often say to people, you know, ultimately you choose your heart. You know, that feeling of being torn, that feeling of that frustration, I want to do more work, or I wish I could just not have to think about my business, I'm on maternity leave. Actually, those frustrations and those feelings and that hard is so much, like, I choose that hard over what I was doing before, where I was, you know, working 5 days a week in a job that I felt totally undervalued and totally overworked, and it would make me sick because I was always getting ill and I was always having to, like, turn up to work sick, and, you know, so many books to mark, etc. Like, I would choose this hard any day over that hard. So I suppose I just think, you know, nothing is ever a perfect balance. Yes, I feel conflicted. Yes, I feel frustrated. Yes, I feel sometimes I feel like, how the hell is this even going to work? But I think there is a deep, like, I do have a deep sense of knowing that I'll get through. I can get through anything. It's definitely not easy.
But I think there's something so powerful, like you say, in that perspective of having experienced almost two sides to a coin, and saying, actually, if I get to choose, which we do, we're so privileged that we do get that choice to say, I choose to do this, and going all in on that choice. Because if we keep one foot on the other boat or on dry land and the other foot's in the canoe, it's that kind of, like, you're in that in between. There's something really important, I think I found as well in parenthood, of being decisive with that flip of the thought. You know, a couple of months ago, I was recognizing that I was like, oh my God, I'm actually not going to build. I know I can build a sustainable financial business. Like, I really know I can, because I've done it so many times. But for whatever reason, I'm not allowing it. I'm kind of denying it, partly out of grief at the world, partly out of personal grief with my dad, who is ill with dementia, partly out of societal and economic awareness of how hard people have it. But there is this real shift of, like, okay, well, if I don't make the choice to build a sustainable business, to be fulfilled in my career, I can't actually be there as the mum I want to be. And I can't actually give back. Do you find, because I think it's such an important topic to talk about, the pushback from the women that you work with specifically around this concept of money, of earning really good money, of it not having to feel hard, of us not having to over deliver, of it being in a way that we can then, as you say, it's a process, right? It doesn't happen overnight. There is this juggle of time. There is this juggle of brain capacity. There is this juggle of the kids get sick. Do you find that with the women you work with, there is a pushback to you when you start to talk about money?
I feel like women, even I, like, who am so much further along, like, there's still a sense of guilt when you talk about money. You know, this is I'm not fully over the hurdle of it. Like, but I also accept that I want to make a shit ton of money. I would love to be rich. Um, but I definitely do, especially in my first call. Like whenever I have like my very first call with my clients, we always start with like the gut check call, and I ask them, what they want to be making in terms of income. And so often, I mean, almost I would say 95% of the time, it's women kind of like hedging a bit, being like, oh, this sounds really like selfish to say, but I would love this, or saying, I can't even begin to imagine that I would make this, and me having to be like, come on, like I want you to think bigger, and trying to help them to think more than just their current situation and like what the possibility could be. So I think there's like a combination of like guilt and shame and just sometimes, yeah, I suppose just sometimes disbelief that they could possibly go really big, with the money that they make. But I think shame actually plays such a huge part in it, especially, like we can all be like, what's going on in the world? How lucky are we now to have what we have, and to even be wanting more. I mean, you can say that about anything, actually. You could say that about anything, and I do find that with my clients, and it's something that we work through.
Yeah, the shame piece is massive. And actually, as you were talking about before, you mentioned shame. I was like, it is about shame. And it is about this idea that, we feel so guilty about what we have, but the guilt is such a drain energetically. And like you were saying about with your children, I don't know if you found this as well, that when you built your business with your first child and you hit that kind of bottleneck almost, did it happen really fast? Because I found that when I built out my coaching practice after having Sienna, I hit a bottleneck really quickly without appreciating it, because I hadn't factored in some really basic things like the cost of travel into town to do my sessions in town. Like I'd factored in the cost of the rooms, but I hadn't factored in the cost of travel. I hadn't factored in the time of travel. I hadn't factored in children getting sick last minute and having to down tools. I hadn't factored in the impact of, being there as a partner and balancing parenthood. And so the bottleneck that I hit happened so fast, and then I couldn't grow the business. And I think that definitely, there were many other factors that contributed to burnout, really, but that was a big part of it, is also that sense of fulfillment. Because like you say, you've got this huge hunger, this huge tenacity, this huge ability, and yet it's almost like we kind of, I don't know really what happened, but it's like dysfunction almost at what happens when you hit that bottleneck, or where you hit that capacity with a first child building your business. Did you find that you had to kind of down tools, or was it more of like I'm going to explode everything here and just kind of go blah, and then piece it all back together to increase that capacity? Because it is massively about increasing capacity and taking the time to mentally increase capacity, to physically increase capacity, to take up that space, to open up the idea of receiving more financially. Like there's so many parts of it. But what was your experience of that moment with your first child, pregnant with your second, just realizing you'd hit those ceilings basically before Gutsy and the Gutsy CEO was born?
I love this question. I think that like it's hard for us to imagine too many great steps ahead, right? In terms of like what we believe is possible for ourselves. So for like when my first daughter was born, my absolute goal, my dream, my everything was to be fully booked, to be working like every single day constantly with one-to-one clients. Like that's all I wanted. And it was everything. And then when I got that, it was, then you kind of allow yourself, I mean, the bottleneck kind of forces you to, but you definitely allow yourself to see, wait, way more is possible. Your ceiling becomes your floor. And so I think that had happened when I was pregnant with my second. My ceiling, what was my ceiling, had become my floor. And I was kind of like looking at what my life would look like during maternity leave, after maternity leave. And I just realized like there is just no way I could be with my baby the way I wanted to be. We're not employed. If you're not employed, you can't go back to a full-time salary. It's not like that. When you're self-employed and you're on mat leave, you have to be friggin' creative with how you're going to like get back on the wagon and build that momentum and actually start making enough to like pay your bills and I don't know, go on holiday, like, and more than that, obviously. But I think I really had to gut check and be like, how, like, this isn't sustainable. You could, maybe it was a blessing that I got pregnant, because I could easily probably have just stayed on that wagon, like really working hard every single day, one-to-ones. I did burn myself out, I think. Pregnancy probably didn't help. But you can just continue doing that, because once your ceiling does become your floor, that becomes like the safe option, right? But I think because I knew I was going to have a baby, and I timed all my clients, my one-to-one clients to finish, or most of my one-to-one clients to finish at that point, it was like, okay, right, the slate is clean now. And what's the 10x move? I've just finished reading 10x is easy.
I was going to say, you're using a lot of Benjamin Hardy's language here. We're speaking the same. I'm like, yep, she's got the floor, she's got the but it's so true, isn't it? And tell us about, so for anyone who doesn't know about this book, because it's absolutely brilliant, and it's not, this is, right, I've got two gripes around this as well, because there seems to be online this real chat around how 10xing things is such a negative concept. But I think people are saying that judgment, having not fully understood the concept, and are associating the idea of 10xing something with bro marketing speak. And actually, 10xing is a gift. When you understand the concept, 10xing something is a gift, because it strips away like 80% of the stuff that we do. Yeah. Anyway, I've just taken away that question from you, but you tell me and us listening that your kind of what that concept has given you.
This book has blown my mind. I've got
It's
all
so
my clients
good.
reading it. I've got everyone in my mastermind reading it. We're all like reflecting on it at the same time. Like, read it. Yeah, no, this is not bro marketing. This is like, it's just, and it's honestly, I can't stop thinking about the things in it, and one of the things is really finding out what your unique ability is, or other words like your zone of genius, or your whatever you like to call it is, and doing more of that and less of everything else. And that is helping me. I think everyone can take so much from that. I've been asking my family. People, actually, my family don't really get this kind of conversation. I've been confusing my family, should I say, with this question. But my partner, any friends that come around, I'm like, hey, what do you think your ability is? Because I'm trying to.
It's my kind of dinner party chat. I'd be there for that.
You're my ideal dinner party guest.
Honestly, it'd be so great. It's the kind of dinner parties I want to go to. Anyway, sorry, you continue.
Yeah, but I think there's that, and really seeing like your ultimate real purpose to fulfillment, like to be truly fulfilled, is to be truly like absorbed in your, doing the thing that is your zone of genius, or your unique ability, or the thing that you are, just the thing that like unlocks flow for you. And that's what I'm trying to do more of. I'm really digging deep at the moment in my business to try and lean more into, well, what is it? I'm not just a business mentor. Like, yes, what does gutsy mean? That hits such a, when I like landed on the word gutsy, it hit something so deep inside of me. I was like, oh my gosh, it was like a crazy full body recalibration moment. And like, what does that mean? And am I like, doing like brand and messaging and sales, or should I be like really leaning into one of those things? And that's a journey that I'm still on. And that's a journey that like I'm taking my clients on. I'm sure you are on that journey with yourself, with your clients. And that's what 10xing really means. I think it's like, it's really leaning into, well, what are you really amazing at, and how can you do more of it, and how can you do less of the stuff that actually like drains you, and less of the stuff that is busy work, because it's not ultimately like leading you to the place where you're able to do the thing that you're amazing at. And yeah, like in terms of like setting the 10x goal, where you pick a goal that's so ridiculously huge and impossible and exciting, and that goal, like if you just truly lean into that goal, yeah, like you said, Kate, like you strip away, there's like a million ways that you could get to a small incremental goal. If I wanted another client, one more client, or if I wanted to help my, my clients get one more client or two more clients or a 5K month, there'd be a million ways to do it. But if you were to say, right, like this year I'm going for 100K in my business, like I want you to do, like there's fewer ways to do it. And those fewer ways are basically the better ways. And those ways will be leaning into the thing that you're amazing at. And it will mean that you'll have to just cut away the shit. And I
Yes.
think that's such an important process, and I just love it. I can't get enough of it. This is a journey I'm on for life.
But it's that real thing of risk, isn't it? It's the entrepreneurial edge of aliveness. And I think, like you say, there's clarity in that, because I definitely found as well, and I've gone a step beyond ADHD curious and had the diagnosis, because becoming a parent made all the things that I could do untenable. But a lot of it has been around understanding with compassion that actually as individuals we're highly capable. We're hungry for the challenge, and actually it's important for our well-being. Like it's actually important for, not for everyone perhaps, and it's like, I think this is the thing I've had to start making peace with. I've known it for a long time, this idea of owning your, this is kind of exactly what you were saying. Like I preach this with my clients all the time, like you're your own leader, there is no one that can match you. You cannot be competed with in that element, because there is no one that can be you. But then having to do that deep work for myself, like sitting with those questions, and like, how do you dig? Because when you were saying that about like digging into the past, or that, whether we want to call it niching or whatever, how do you make decisions on that? Do I do sales? Do I do marketing? Do I stick to messaging? Because also at the end of the day, it all culminates in a similar outcome. They're parts of the outcome anyway. So is it also understanding just the communication of it? Or is it understanding, no, actually, now I don't help people with that anymore?
I mean, this is something that I'm currently figuring out. I feel like, it probably is a combination of all of those things. Like I absolutely love brand, and I absolutely love messaging, and I love sales, and I love a million other things as well. I think something that really holds people back in their business, in their life, is feeling like they just want to do everything, like that feeling of like, oh, but I like that and I like that. I like working with that person and I like working with that person. I love working with men and women. I love working with this, and not being willing to let things go so that you can actually focus your attention and get better at it and become an expert and become a specialist and really become known for your thing. One question that I have, so when I first started coaching in terms of business, I would always ask, like, who's your ideal client, and da 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 da. I don't really ask that question anymore. Now the question is like, what do you want to be known for? And really digging deep into what you want to be known for. And for me, like, I don't know if it's brand messaging, sales independently, or it's actually probably something bigger. What I want to be known for is being the gutsy CEO, which I have managed, which is great. But I suppose it's just, everything is just playing around, exploring, trying things out, like making a decision and not being afraid that you might have to go back on it.
Yes, I feel like that's such an important thing to say, because there are so many people I've worked with who are terrified of change. And then it's like, well, you can make a change and then you can change your mind again. And then it's like, oh, light bulb moment of, okay, it's like, I always think of netball, of like pivoting, if you kind of like, you're dodging things, and actually you don't have to, yes, we want to end up at a certain point perhaps, but that it's not a linear path. And I guess parenthood and balancing business growth are two of those things that are never linear. Like they are never linear. How do you handle the curveballs in your business when motherhood, the needs for the priorities for motherhood are kind of trying to take over? How do you balance both? Or is it that actually something has to give?
How do I balance both? I think sometimes things have to give. Like So like I said, today you've found me on a day where I have the luxury of having my hands free. I don't have a baby in my arms or on my boob, and everything seems possible in my business.
Yeah,
And
it's like the denial is real.
you catch me tomorrow, and I'll probably be in a slightly different mindset, or definitely by Wednesday I'll be like, how am I going to do this? Um, I think trying to be really clear on like, well, what is the focus of the week, or what is the focus of the month, or again, I mean, thinking about 10x and 2x, like, what's the goal, and how can you stop doing the busy work? I talk about like busy work quite a lot because I feel like you can very easily slip into doing a load of things and draining all your energy and burning yourself out. Like I definitely have like a pattern of burnout as well, which happened when I was a teacher, and it every so often happens again. Like as a business owner, it's really easy to slip into that without actually realizing, oh, like, how is this actually getting me to the greater thing? And I think when you have children, actually, I think when you have children, as frustrating as it is when you're trying to balance the children and the business, in a way, it forces you to be more streamlined, and it forces you to be more boundaried. I'm definitely so much more boundaried now with my clients, and I think they actually really benefit from that as well. By the way, I think like boundaries help everyone, but and I'm also more, I suppose, like more analytical about my time and where it's going. So probably, over the next couple of days, I won't be doing that much work in the daytime, but yes, I've chosen my hard. I will be working in the evening, and that isn't ideal. I don't love working in the evening, but again, that's just at the moment part of the give and take, and that's the hard I've chosen, which ultimately is like an amazing life that I love. Um, yeah, I don't know, like if something has to give, it's just like there's so many different answers, I suppose. Just trying always to be like grateful for what you have. That's such an annoying one. I There are times when I feel like I am move. There are times that I feel like I'm moving a million miles an hour in my brain, and potentially that's ADHD. And then I 100% like having children just compounds all of that, and then having a business also compounds all of that. Um, and I do try to take time to be more mindful. If it's a nice day, me and my baby will just go to the park, and I'll be like, right, no phone, no business, don't think about business, and just like look at her and look at the sky and look at the grass. And yeah, I mean, it's something that, yeah, you're speaking to a woman who is currently really like in the thick of it with a very young baby and not much childcare. So I think I just try to always hold on to like why I'm doing it and what I love about it, and what I love about my children as well. Like both things, and accept that it's not like super easy, but it's also what I love.
And thank you so much for sharing that, because I think the reality of it all is very different sometimes to how it's portrayed online, or the importance of, like you say, actually putting the phone down. Like that's definitely something over the last couple of months. I take the dog out without my phone because I was like, I don't want to be the mum that is on her phone at the playground because I'm bored, or because of this, that, and the other. Like that deeper connection to these other parts of our life as humans is really important, to feel like we're getting something back from them. Because like you say, otherwise it's like we're constantly frazzled, or we're not really completing tasks. We're kind of like multitasking. Like I'd be out walking the dog, trying to do an Instagram post, because it felt like that was the only way I could do it. And actually I was like, what am I doing? I'm neither enjoying really the walk. I'm also not, like, I am posting stuff, but am I posting because it makes me feel something, like I'm still connected to something? And this kind of breath for self-trust, to have the space to not be busy, to say, actually, when you harness your energy in such a way and you really kind of deliver quality over the amount of it, then that's what makes the impact. And I think, especially in parenting, like you say, it's just the capacity of it. I was going to ask you about that, whether actually becoming a parent has helped you with your business, because it's definitely been true for me. Like, it's made me face up to the fact that, okay, if I want to do this stuff, I have to be really serious about it, but not in a serious, boring way, just in a, I can't actually just say yes to anything. I do need to make some choices, but it has weirdly helped in a way that I'm now grateful for. Ask me that a year ago, I probably would have been like, this is hell on earth. I'm on the brink of a breakdown. But it's all, and I don't want to glamorize burnout, because it's actually awful. And there's something really important in that, in kind of saying, if you're listening and you think you're burnt out, and it doesn't have to be that you are exhausted. Sometimes it's that you're grumpy, or that you are, maybe I can ask you that, Amber, like, for me, it was definitely impatience with my daughter, or it was productivity issues, or it was just knowing just knowing. For you, what were your signs that you were, or what are your signs when you are starting to hit that point of burnout that you're like, hang on, I need to take a step back?
Yeah, definitely. I find myself like, I guess if you're listening, you can't really see, but I can just find myself like this feeling of like in my brain, and also I find myself scrolling a lot, because I think when I'm getting more and more burnt out, I definitely like tend to try to numb it with like the scroll, but then the scroll gets out of control, and then it's like, sometimes I think, oh, I'll do something, I'll create a piece of content, and then you find yourself scrolling, and then just feeling really miserable about that. I think it's not being able to control the speed of my brain. When that gets out of control, I know that I'm heading in a place that I need to do a gut check.
Gut check, yeah.
It's like noticing what's going on in your body, and being like, okay, right now, I can't let this go any further. Because it does happen to me, like every few months. And I do think it's normal. We're trying to do so much. Women in general are just trying to do so much all at once. And sometimes we do just need to like slow down, or we're just gonna hit a wall. And like, I feel like when I was teaching, I really hit that wall hard. And that's when I was like, right, that's it. Never again. Never going back to teaching. Never want to do this. And I really don't want to feel like that with my business. I love my business, and I love my babies, and I want to continue loving it. So it's all the more important that you do like that, that we do kind of check in on ourselves when we can sense those same patterns happening, and be like, all right, how am I going to put a stop to it? Because I need to put down I need to lay down the law with myself here, which I have done. Yeah, I feel like having children has hugely helped me scale my business, and hugely helped me put boundaries down. And it continues to do so, because now I'm like, well, I don't have that much time. What am I focusing on? All right, gonna do an event next year, rather than being like, oh, I'm gonna try and do a million things. you know
I feel like that's such a beneficial share. Thank you so much, because there's definitely something in this around like accepting that as much as we would like to be superhuman, like we are human, and there is a need for us to look after ourselves. Otherwise, like you say, we can't scale. And when it comes to like scaling now, because with your method, with your Gutsy method, the concept of the Gutsy CEO, the whole identity of that, alongside your messaging, which has become punchier. I've seen it evolve. I've been there. I've been like, oh, reading the post, because I'm like, yep, you've hit me in my gut, which is a good thing. And I think that reminder as well, because this is something I've had to definitely work on, is that people are going to agree or disagree with us. They're going to like us or dislike us, whatever we post, right? Have you found that there has been real peace that you've had to make with that in order to really step into this new identity, or not new identity, but evolving identity of yourself, without worrying so much about what other people are thinking?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think when I first started my business, I really wanted everyone to like me. And I remember always kind of, and still I say I want your business to feel good, but I really believe now that we all need to have some hard chats with ourselves sometimes. And sometimes it takes a piece of content to show you that mirror. And I think I really used to veer away from any kind of pain point marketing. Only talk about like, the dream, the desire. Don't poke. And I don't want to like poke too hard at people, but I just think sometimes um, a piece of content can really, like a strong piece of content that kind of calls out your bullshit can really, and it has for me, really like change the trajectory of like my beliefs and my business. And so I do like to do that in my content, and I really encourage people like inside my mastermind, inside my spaces to, whenever they're saying like, oh, is this a bit too like mean, or is this a bit too this, or is this a bit too that, at the minute, if you've written something and then you're like sense checking, is it too mean or is it too harsh? First of all, pretty much always whenever I see my clients and the stuff they're thinking is mean or harsh, like, it's not at all. Like, it's not at all. It's just direct. And actually, when I've done some like messaging training with people in the past, like earlier this year, and a lot of people said, oh, I don't know if I'm bold. I don't know if I, and I said, well, I don't know, you, like, being bold isn't being like rude or brash or loud or abrasive. It can be if that's what you want it to be, but really what being bold is about being brave enough to just say the thing that you're saying to your mate, or say the thing that you actually think, rather than trying to like sugarcoat it or make it seem nicer. Because I think, like, if you're trying to sugarcoat your words, or trying to sugarcoat what you're saying to make it appeal or appease people in your audience who might not like it, you're not doing anyone any favors, because your ideal clients aren't going to be hit by that, and you're not going to stand out as well. So I've really learned that. And yes, I do get people that don't agree always. And that's still hard to hear, when people are like, no, I really didn't resonate with what you were talking about, which I have had. But yeah, I mean, you just got to be yourself. You've just got to be yourself, and you just got to stand by what you believe. Because if you don't, well, that's the secret to successful business, is really knowing what you believe and standing by it. And if people don't agree with you, just accepting them. The bigger you get, the more people aren't going to agree with you. So actually, it's helpful if you have a few people here and there every so often to help you build up that skin.
Pain exposure. What's it called? Like when you go through the kind of like exposure of therapy, therapy or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I think there is this like fear that we have almost of preempting what will happen when we're successful or when we're big, that keeps us safe, that keeps us at that floor or at the ceiling when it's still the ceiling, but that is contributing to the frustration or to the stress or to the lack of fulfillment, and that there is something that really has to be like popped through that top, through the glass ceiling, which is why I think it's always really fascinating your messaging around as well AI, and kind of really encouraging your audience to trust themselves and to say, well, what do you believe? Gut check it, I guess. Understand, is it in alignment with your values or your morals or whatever, and then press that post button, because there's something in it, isn't there, in this age of AI, where it's developing at such a rapid pace that can really, like you were saying about your brain pace, like can really speed us up unnecessarily, can really make us feel like we have to be performing faster. And actually there's something in the essence of the connection to words. Have you found, since you stopped using AI and quite openly with your messaging, with your marketing, with your content, that you've actually had better, more enjoyable, more fulfilling connections and relationships with social media?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. And like, I want to, like, caveat here, I do still use AI sometimes, and especially when I need to get something out quickly, or I've had this idea and I have to kind of like execute it. Like, it's not something I've like totally cut out, but 100%, when I do use it, I just don't feel connected to it. I don't like it. I don't love it. I don't feel proud of it. And when I use my own voice, and I know this is the case with my clients as well, but always talking about this. Like, when you really feel like connected to the stuff you've written, that is, I don't know, it just feels so good. And people resonate with it so much more. like you can see when people have written things with AI, and I'm not judging them. I'm not saying like that's bad. Each to their own. But personally, and I know for my clients, like it just doesn't feel that good. It just doesn't feel that good, and I don't think it doesn't hit in terms of like it doesn't resonate with other people either as much.
Because there's something in this as well, isn't there, about like, you know, we often talk about money in business, but really there are so many other strands of the energetic ecosystem. Like I always like to kind of explore it from that idea of that connection to the words, the receiving back of a conversation. Like there's so many other things that go beyond money to help people get the money. So for you, Amber, with your 10x vision of what's to come next with the Gutsy CEO, and you've mentioned events, you know, what is not what is next for you, but if you were to give yourself your own manifesto for really committing to your Gutsy CEO pathway ahead, what is that commitment that you are kind of stepping into, 10xing the idea of it and that identity? Like who is that version of Amber?
I just want to commit to being the Gutsy CEO at every single level of my business, and that never stopping. You know, I'm sure that my goals will keep changing, but like at every stage, I want to know that I'm like being like the bravest version of me. And really, ultimately, what I would love and what I am doing is to build a movement of women who really also, that's their goal too, just to be brave and to be themselves and to check in with themselves and to do things that feel good because they are deeply aligned with who they are, and like always taking a brave step from that place. So yeah, like I could say, you know, I would love to be, you know, to make my first million. I would love to have like a huge platform. I'd love to be running masterminds. I'd love to be doing events, like speaking globally. I want to do the TED Talk. I want to write the book. But like at the very, like the depth of that, the deep level, it's that I just always want to be taking like super, super brave aligned action at every single level. And I'm not the person, I can never stagnate. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
But I want that energy to like ripple across to like everyone that I work with, you know, and so that everyone just feels like deeply, deeply like attuned to who they are and like the potential that they have in their life and in their business. It's so exciting.
I can really feel it. It's great. It's very energizing. And I feel like that leads nicely into a question that I ask everyone on this podcast. And that is, who are you, or what are you doing and who are you when you're really thriving? Like, who is that version of Amber?
When I'm really thriving, I would say when I'm really thriving, I'm at my most like, I'm trying to explain because I would say I'm excited, but I'm also calm. I would say grounded, you know, because I do feel like I spend a lot of time like buzzing. And when I'm really feeling good, even like now, like I just feel grounded, and it's a grounded fuzziness rather than like an anxious fuzziness. Um, and yeah, just really, really brave, just really brave, and I want people to feel that come into my world that I'm just like there for them. You know, I'm open. And I read a book. Sorry, no, this isn't. I want to open a new conversation, but like the untethered soul, which is or the untethered spirit or something, where it's like you just stay open to people, and stay open to experiences, and stay open to life rather than closed. And I think that really had a huge impact on me. Like I want to be open, and I want everyone to feel that.
That's wonderful. Thank you. It's like such presence. I'm like, yes, there's just really in the moment energy. And as a parting gift to those listening today, what would you say to anyone who is scared of stepping into their own Gutsy CEO era?
I think you just have to ask yourself, like, what is more scary? Like, what's more scary? Is it staying the same and circling the same old patterns, and feeling the same, weird sense of like unease, or things being off, or that, that horrible feeling in your tummy or your head or your heart or wherever it is. Like, whatever, if you step into your gutsy era, like, no matter what it is, no matter, like, that is going to be, in my opinion, that's going to be better than the feeling of like sinking into this like stagnant unease. And I just think everything is play. Like, just treat everything as play. Treat your life as play. Make it fun. Like, go with your gut and like lean into the energy of like of fun and play and exploring and curiosity. And that's really how you can be brave. I always used to say to my friends, like, just see it as an exciting new chapter. Everything is an exciting new chapter. You don't want to stay in the same chapter all your life. It's boring.
So true. And as you were saying, I do just have one last bonus question, and that is to ask you, what would the version of you today tell the version of you that was considering leaving teaching, being pregnant? Like, what would the version of you right now tell that version of you back then?
Oh, just like, you're gonna have the most fucking amazing time ever. Like,
Hurry up and quit.
do it. Just do it. Leave. Like, it's not as hard as you're making it out to be. You know deep down what you want to do. You know deep down that you'll land on your feet. You know deep down that like this is, you know, the right path. Yeah, just trust yourself, because so much exciting stuff is to come.
Amber, thank you so much. Now, how can people find you, connect with you? What have you got going on, like offers wise? Just give us a bit of a lowdown on all of that.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active, at the Gutsy CEO. I have my core offer is called Gutsy. It's the Gutsy Mastermind, which is a 6-month mastermind which supports you with basically stepping into your Gutsy CEO version of yourself, but also strategically, like your branding, your messaging, your methodology, your sales. So yeah, that runs like a couple of times a year. Get in touch if you're interested. I've got another program called the Upgrade coming actually in January, which is a 6-week accelerator to really have like a taste of all of those things, so that you can just start 2026 feeling amazing. That's it.
Amber, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing all of that wonderful, juicy experience, background, knowledge, all of it. Is there anything that you would like to impart, share, leave in the space before we finish?
Yeah, I just loved being here with you, Kate.
Great.
I love being here with you. I just feel like there's so much synergy with everything that you talk about. I like love what you say, and your listeners, I'm sure, just like adore you too. And
I haven't paid her for this. This is lovely.
but like, to anyone listening, just do the thing, and just listen to yourself and trust yourself, and do the thing. I think that's what Club Thrive is all about too. So
thank you, Amber. That's beautiful. Yeah, do the thing. And please do like this podcast, share the podcast, come and follow, because I think there is something in this around, we didn't touch upon it today so much, but this idea of collaboration and this idea of, we can all be coaches and having our own space and having our own movements, but actually together they can be super powerful in coming together, blending, not feeling like we're stepping on each other's toes, but really helping one another out as well.
yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.